Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Padujikacharya Astotar, the Shishi Mada's Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnu Pad Paramahansa, Padujikacharya Astotar, the Shishi Mada's Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Kvantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. So, if you'll allow me, today is the appearance day of Locana Dasa Thakura. And I think we've been doing that first, right, before we do Bhagavatam. That's what you do, isn't it? Read the... Yeah, that's what I do. Okay, so it's bona fide. So I'd like to read a little bit about Locana Dasa Thakura from the Samadhi's book. And something special. That song of his, which is Padma Karuna, right? I put it into English. So I'm going to sing that for you. And you can listen. And we'll have something unusual. But I just have to find it here. Oh, good. Okay. Let me just get that loaded up here. You probably never realized that the word Parama Karuna and super compassionate has the same beat to it. It is the same meaning. Super compassionate. Okay. All right, so we'll read that later. But now we'll read a little bit about Locana Dasa Thakura. Sri Locana Dasa Thakura was a disciple of Sri Narahari Sarakar Thakur, a dearest associate of Lord Chaitanya. Quote, Locana Dasa says in Chaitanya Mangal, this famous biography of Lord Chaitanya, written in beautiful, beautiful Bengali poetry. My hope of hopes is to be near the lotus feet of Sri Narottam Das Thakur and serve him with my very life. The cherished desire of this fallen Locana Dasa is to be allowed, by Narahari's grace, to sing the glories of Lord Gauranga. My Lord is Sri Narahari Thakur, and I am his servant. Bowing before him, I beg for his service. This is my only aspiration. Locana Dasa Thakura wrote Chaitanya Mangal, which tells many pastimes of Lord Chaitanya not revealed by Vrindavan Das Thakur or Krishnadas Kaviraj. Those are the two main biographies we have, the Chaitanya Bhagavat and, of course, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I have it in English right here. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the Bengali, but I can send it to you. Yeah. He mentioned an especially touching conversation Lord Chaitanya had with Vishnu Priya Devi, his second wife, the night before he took sannyas. Being a talented musician, Locana Dasa told Mahaprabhu's pastimes in beautiful poetry filled with fire and rhythm. Common people could easily understand the divine character of Lord Chaitanya and awaken their religious feelings. As devotees regularly chant the Vedic epics from Ramayana and Mahabharata, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas still wander throughout Bengal reciting the Chaitanya Mangal. Have you experienced that at all? Okay, so it's still happening. Locana Dasa Thakura also wrote many songs praising Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and Gauri Das Pandit. Locana Dasa stresses that Raganuga Bhaktas, that's those who are following in the path of Ragatmika Bhaktas, the spontaneous devotees, must take shelter of Gadadhar Pandit and Vrindavaneshwari to attain, he's the same personality. Gadadhar Vrindavaneshwari. Gadadhar is known as a manifestation of Radharani. Vrindavaneshwari is the name for Radharani, the Lord of the Empress of Vrindavan. Take shelter of Gadadhar Vrindavaneshwari to attain Radha Govinda Prema Bhakti. Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur used to print and distribute Locana Dasa Thakura's Sri Chaitanya Mangal. Srila Prabhupada was very fond of his bhajans. While singing Paramakarana, Prabhupada would plunge into the ocean of Gauranga Prema. Srila Prabhupada wrote an extensive commentary on this bhajan. Bhajo Bhajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudhida Vishwas Kori. Quote, Locana Dasa asked everyone, my dear brother, just worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm faith and conviction. Don't think that this chanting and dancing will not lead to the desired goal. It will. This is from Prabhupada's commentary on the song. It is the assurance of Lord Chaitanya that one will get all perfection by this process. Therefore, one must chant with firm faith and conviction. Okay, let's see if I can do this without making a mess of it. If I do this, then I won't be able to turn the page. So maybe you can play the kartals in that beat. Da 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 da. I'm not going to do that. Oh, you're also not good at that beat. Well, let's see what happens. All right. I will clap. You try to stay with the clap. Okay, the mercy of Shri Gaur and Shri Nityananda by Locana Dasa Thakura. Super compassionate are these two golden lords, Nitai Gaura Chandra. They are the best of lords, crystals of avatars, founts of pure bliss and deep wonder. Can you do it, Larry? Can you stay with that beat? Dun, 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 dun. How about you, Dharmada? All right, we don't need cards. Yeah, forget the cards. Okay. Super compassionate are these two golden lords, Litai Gaura Chandra. They are the best of lords, crystals of avatars, founts of pure bliss and deep wonder. Oh friends, just worship them, Chaitanya Nitai, fixing your mind with firm faith. Give up all sense pleasure, dive in the sea of bliss, chant Hari Hari today. A super compassionate are these two golden lords, Nitai Gaura Chandra. They are the best of lords, crystals of avatars, founts of pure bliss and deep wonder. Brothers and sisters within the three worlds, there is no one as kindly as they. Even the birds, stones, and animals weep in bliss when they hear talks of their traits. Super compassionate are these two golden lords, Nitai Gaura Chandra. They are the best of Lord's crystals of avatars, founts of pure bliss and deep wonder. Listen to what I say. If you do not attain any desire for their service, Yama will punish you, causing you endless pain. This is what Lord Chanda says. Super compassionate are these two golden lords, Nitai, Gaura Chandra. They are the best of lords, quest jewels of avatars, founts of pure bliss and deep wonder. So that's my little attempt at putting it into English. Yeah. At least you can understand the meaning, as you often don't with the Bengali and the Sanskrit, as we know. Okay, so moving on to Srimad Bhagavatam. All right, give me a second here. We are on verse 62. Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On his 13th day of January 2021 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order. Chapter 28, Puranjan becomes a woman in his next life. Text 62, but before we do, Narayana Namaskritya, Narang Chaiva. Okay, go ahead. I'll say Narayana Namaskritya, Narang Chaiva Narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Tato Jayamudiri. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, we should offer respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Aham, Bhavan, Na, Chanyas, Tvam. Okay, wait a minute. Aham Bhavan Chanyastvam. Aham Bhavan Chanyastvam. This is through it. Tvamevaham Vichakshvabho. Nanao Pashyanti Kavayash. Chidram Jatu Managapi. Aham Bhavan Chanyastvam. Tvamevaham Vichakshvabho. Nanao Pashyanti Kavayash. Chidram Jatu Managapi. Please chant. Aham Bhavan Chanyastvam. Tvamevaham Vichakshvabho. Nanao Pashyanti Kavayash. Chidram Jatu Managapi. Aham Bhavan Chanyastvam. Tvamevaham Vichakshvabho. Nanao Pashyanti Kavayash. Chidram Jatu Managapi. Aham Bhavan Chanyastvam. Tvamevaham Vichakshvabho. Nanao Pashyanti Kavayash. Chidram Jatu Managapi. Aham, I. Bhavan, you. Na, not. Cha, also. Anyaha, different. Tvam, you. Tvam, you. Eva, certainly. Aham, as I am. Vichakshva, just observe. Boho, my dear friend. Na, not. Now, of us. Pashyanti, do observe. Kavayaha, learned scholars. Chidram, faulty differentiation. Jatu, at any time. Manak, in a small degree. Api, even. Translation. So this is still a Brahmin speaking to Puranjan Reborn. My dear friend, I, the super soul, and you, the individual soul, are not different in quality. for we are both spiritual. In fact, my dear friend, you are qualitatively not different from me in your constitutional position. Just try to consider this subject. Those who are actually advanced scholars who are in knowledge do not find any qualitative difference between you and me. Purport. Both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity are qualitatively one. There is no factual difference between the two. The Mayavadi philosophers are again and again defeated by the illusory energy because they think that there is no separation between the supersoul and the individual soul, or that there is no supersoul. They are also misled in thinking that everything is the supersoul. However, those who are Kavayaha, learned scholars, actually know the facts. They do not commit such mistakes. They know that God and the individual soul are one in quality, but that the individual soul falls under the clutches of Maya, whereas the supersoul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the controller of Maya. Maya is the creation of the Supreme Lord. Maya Srishta. That's from the previous verse, I think. Or is that from this verse? Previous verse. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is the controller of Maya. Although one in quality with the Supreme Lord, the individual soul is under the control of Maya. Mayavadi philosophers cannot distinguish between the controller and the controlled. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is almost the last verse, I think, of the allegory. The next verse, or the verse after it, he's going to speak as Narada Muni to Partinabharishat. So what we're seeing here is the super soul instructing the Darby, reborn Puranjan, in the science of the soul and the science of the relationship with the Supreme Soul. And this is obviously a basic subject matter for all aspiring bhaktas to understand our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, here represented as the Super Soul. So the mistake, as Prabhupada points out in many places, and right here, is the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, they conflate. There's a very nice word, conflate, which means to confuse and join and identify as one without any difference, the soul and the super soul. And that we don't have any permanent separate identity. That this idea that we're individuals is an illusion. And that once we attain knowledge, true knowledge of the Absolute, we'll merge back into the Supreme and we'll lose our individual identity. So that is roundly contradicted by Krishna right near the beginning of his instructions to Arjuna. Some of you may know this verse, Natve vaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadipa natchaiva nabhavishyama sarve vayamatak param. There's a long purport there in which Prabhupada quotes a lot against the Mayavadis. So what Krishna is saying there is that never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these fighting men and kings. And never will there be a time when we don't exist as individuals. Now, of course, there's different ways of interpreting that verse, but the clear meaning is that we've always existed in the past as separate individuals. We exist now as separate individuals, and we will in the future. So this is the beta in the Achincha beta tattva. Beta means difference. Abeta means no difference, oneness. And so Lord Chaitanya, this is his unique contribution, if you will. Well, let's just say this is one of them, one of the most important, to the philosophy of Vaishnavism. Because there's these four different lines, and there are various ways in which the different Vaishnav lines describe the relation between the soul and the super soul. Soul and Krishna, the individual, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this Achintya beta tattva, it can reconciles all of them. It's like a very foundational principle, and it's being mentioned here in the text and the purport. So the idea is that we are of the same substance as the Supreme Spirit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're pure spirit, and he's pure spirit. The difference is he's infinite, and we're infinitesimal. Or as Prabhupada would say, infinitesimal. But we're still the same quality. That's very important to understand. And so many examples: the sun and the sun ray, the ocean and the ocean drop. They have the same qualities, but there's a vast difference. So the main difference is that because we're minute, when we reject the shelter of the Supreme through service, which is our natural position, then we're overwhelmed by the material energy. Even though we remain spiritual, we remain in our angsa, pure spirit, we forget all that and we identify with this material body or any of other millions of material bodies. And this basic principle of understanding is the foundation upon which everything else is built. Everything we do and all the goals that we are aspiring for and our faith and everything else. So the idea is that we're qualitatively one. We have a pure spirit, and just as the personality of Godhead, Krishna, is Anandamaya Abhyasa. This is part of the Vedanta Sutra. Don't forget, the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vedanta Sutra have an unbreakable bond. The Bhagavatam is the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So this theme that the Lord is full of bliss, well, you see that manifest in the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. And in some of the other avatars also manifesting that. But mostly Krishna's activities in Vrindavan and Dwarka and also Mathura, where he's showing that, even though he's sometimes fighting demons, as Prabhupada makes the point in lectures I've been hearing, he's always blissful while doing it. It's not that Krishna's heart is beating very fast and he's very afraid, maybe I'll lose this time. It's never like that. It's a game, But it's a deadly, serious game for his friends and family and everything who are being threatened. In other words, he's doing that and in the same way entertaining them and enjoying the fight. It's part of his Leela. But he does it, that particular Leela, he does in his Vishnu expansion. Krishna himself, he's simply occupied with playing the flute and dancing and playing with his friends and things like that. Let's explain. So this blissfulness is what we're hankering for. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to work all week and slave and have to kiss up to some demonic boss, and then come back with your always unsatisfying paycheck, what it is, and then try to enjoy on the weekend, forget all that, and then go back. I mean, it's a horrible. That's just a life that a lot of people would give, that they have a job and they have a place to live. But we see so many people. I mean, this was never like this when I came here. There's no homeless people wandering around in Pacific Beach. Even the time you've been here, you've seen it's increased, right? I know the trash and the dirt, the poor people, they don't have why is that? Because this world is not under the control of Krishna directly. It's under the control of material energy. And so you have these modes of nature working. You have people who are completely dedicated to exploiting other people. They don't see any difference between them and some robot or some machine. This world is full of these kind of sentiments and activities because it's alienated from our real home. And these negative aspects can become prominent by that. And that's what the material world is. It's dukkali amashashvatam. We should remember that phrase. It's an abode of misery, and it's temporary. That temporariness is often part of the misery. Even if you get a little safety and you get a little family going, but it's temporary. It's all being taken away from you. It's just like the bubbles in this ocean. You watch the waves. They come together for a few moments, or and then they come apart, or some sticks come together. All the relationships here are like that. We're hankering for that permanent, fulfilling, ever blissful relationship with Krishna. Be part of his family. Everybody's a big family up there. They all love Krishna. And everyone is enjoying each other's company, talking about Krishna, glorifying, planning how to serve him, and dancing. That's our home, permanently, forever. And every day is new. It's ever fresh. It's never gets hackneyed. So. how can we get from here to there? The first lesson, as always, is to understand we're spirit, not matter. That this body of ours that we're inhabiting is a temporary machine that we got because of our previous activities, basically because of our rebellion against Krishna. And the only value of this body is not trying to enjoy it or try to find some permanent place here, which is impossible, but to use it as it has been instructed in the Shastra and by the great souls, the sadhus and the gurus, how to use this very same body, this our prison house, to get out of the prison permanently. That's the whole idea. And it makes perfect sense once we understand that we're constitutionally, we belong there. We belong in that permanent relation with Krishna, conscious of God at all times and our relationship, and living with, and everything we do and think and say is in that relationship. So that understanding is possible when we realize that, you're in pure spirit. Isn't that such a revolutionary idea? I mean, we live with it all the time. But just that najayate mrite vakadarshan, there's no birth or death. You'll never die. But because if you identify with this body, which is already dead, but which will eventually break down and give you this sense of loss and pain and suffering, then you'll experience it. Then it's very real. Even though it's an illusion, it's like a dream, but it's a very, very vivid, real dream for the conditioned soul. This is the idea. So, Narada Muni, who's the most prominent of the Mahajans in terms of giving instruction in the Bhagavatam, every canto you'll find him, every canto. And he always gives just the right instruction for whoever it is, to awaken their bhakti, whether it's the hunter or Dhruva or Prahlad or here this king, He's so absorbed in these sacrifices to go to heaven, And so he gives him this wonderful analogy, this long analogy. And the king is Puranjan, obviously. We're all Puranjan. And when we roam about and think that this world is our place of enjoyment, then we're in for suffering. We're going to be knocked down. So the super soul is always there, instructing us, giving us remembrance, knowledge, how to do this, how to do that. But at the same time, he's ready to give us transcendental instruction when we want it. And he even comes outside as the gurus, to instruct us, and the Shastra, such as Srimad Bhagavatam, to give us a chance. All we have to do is turn our attention and be receptive. This phrase, I heard Prabhupada this morning use it, in his yoga system tapes. You've heard those? Prabhupada's talk on the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Wonderful. And he's talking about the need for a submissive all reception. This is a translation, wonderful translation of this word shushushral, which comes up right at the beginning of Bhagavatam, 2nd verse. One who hears the Bhagavatam with submissive all reception will soon have the Lord manifest in his heart. In other words, will be able to see God in his heart. What's the need of any other scripture? This scripture alone will meet all your needs. And all the other books that we have, you may say, well, Bhagavad Gita maybe, but it's complementary. There's no contradiction. But all the writings of the Goswamis, the CC, certainly all the commentaries that Prabhupada relied to write his purports, are based on Bhagavad philosophy. The foundation, is Jiva Goswami's Shatsandarbha. Shatsandarbha means 6 philosophical treatises that which embody the whole philosophy. And all of our acharyas have drawn upon it, and so it's all simply to increase our faith in the process of devotional service, have full confidence that goal is there for us, and that the more that we understand, cultivate the knowledge, it was very illuminating. Was that you who mentioned how in the early days it was just Harinam, and it was very ecstatic. But there were people leaving. It wasn't stable, because as soon as you commit some offense, you're not in full knowledge. It's easy, and you lose your taste, and you just walk off. You go on Harinam, you don't come back, whatever. So Prabhupada wanted us to be founded in this philosophy, which forms a good foundation of our faith. And now, the faith is built also on your knowledge as well as your practices. So we're qualitatively one. And the Mayavadis conflate that, and because of that, they try to destroy the individuality. But for devotees, it's abominable. Kaivalyang natakayate. This is a wonderful verse Prabhupada would quote. He quoted several times, not the Sanskrit, but the English, in the Bhagavad Gita purports. And this is a verse describing the result of being empowered by the merciful sidelong glance of Lord Chaitanya. In other words, by service, by being sincere in his movement. So what's the result? The result of changes in consciousness. He's describing the state of mind of someone like that. So he starts out with this Kaivalyang natakayate, Tridashapur akasha pushpayate, Durdantendriya kada sarpapatali, protkata dankstrayate, Vishwang purna sukhayate, Vidimahindra dishtakitayate, Yet karunya kataksha vaivapapatam tam goldame vastumak. I praise Lord, the golden avatar, Lord Chaitanya. Those who are empowered by his merciful sidelong glance have these understandings and feelings. The first is that this Kaivalya means oneness. Merging, losing your identity, is just like going to hell. Because devotees, we are nourished by bhakti, by the feeling of bhakti, by the bliss. And Bhakti Padeshana Bhavarakti Anyatachai, it's described in the 11th canto. Experience of the Lord, which is like nourishing food, and the pleasure of serving him. That is all gone. As soon as you want to merge and lose your identity, then the whole idea of bhakti becomes absurd, because bhakti involves three elements: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, the Bhakta, and the relationship between them, the bhakti. So if you're merging and losing your identity as a person, where's the bhakti? It isn't there. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he lamented, he spent so much time. I'm just like a dried up oil cake, oily oil has been taken out, but Lord Chaitanya came and saved me. It's wonderful. So then Tridashapur Akasha Pushpayate. This is for Pachana Barishat. So many people sacrificing so many things, elaborate sacrifices to go to heaven or get a better birth, improve your material will. So he says all of these heavens, 33 million Indraloka and all of them, just like sky flowers. Now why does he call it a sky flower? Who can say? Yes, an illusion. In other words, you're concocting it in your mind and aspiring for something that doesn't even exist. There's no permanent happiness there. It may be a little better, titillation of the senses, but eventually you come back down here, the world of death. It's right in the Bhagavad Gita. It doesn't. It's a big distraction from your mission, human mission, to go back home, back to Godhead. You're getting diverted, just like in any sense. So that's what. So for a devotee, who cares? It doesn't even. It's not even real. And then you have the yogis. The yogis who are after siddhis and all these different things. So they have to control the senses, right? And that's a big battle. We've been reading 6th chapter at night. Krishna, where you go alone, practice the pranayama, sit like this, stare at the tip of the nose, fight the mind, which can be your worst enemy or your best friend. So it's not easy, right? And that's all I can control those senses. So for a devotee who's been empowered, he says, these very difficult to control senses, which are like serpents, like poisonous serpents that'll bite your consciousness by distracting you. That's the idea. The senses are still there, but because they're being used in Krishna service, it's like the fangs have been removed. So they're really harmless. In other words, they can't help you. They can help you in your devotion. We need eyes to see, and we need tongue to chant. They don't kill your consciousness like the yogis are always afraid they will. And then you have the Vishwang Purna Sukhayate. So the impetus for moksha, for mukti, which is a big thing for the Mayavadis, that's really what they're after. Liberation from birth and death, for me, and heck with all you guys, I'm going back to Brahman, So it says, for the devotee, the whole world is already full of bliss. If you're really Krishna conscious, you see Krishna's pastimes going on everywhere, and you're with Krishna, so you don't care. That's what he said in Janmani Janmani. Let me have birth after birth, as long as I have your unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service. That's really what he wants. So that's tremendous value, because the impetus for moksha and mukti is ultimately fear. You want to be motivated by fear all the time? I mean, we understand the evils of birth, old age, disease, and death. So we take it. It should make us very serious and grave, But that gravity means, okay, I'm going to practice really carefully, and then in the end, you're not grave. You're ecstatic. You're crying in ecstasy, rolling on the ground. That's but. So he says the whole world is full of Vishwam Purna Sukhayate. And as far as the demigods go, he mentions Brahma and Indra. Vinamahindra Adishtakitayate. We offer our honor to them. We don't degrade them. But for us, they're no more significant than insects in terms of worship. No, we're not going to worship. So this is, Lord Chaitanya, it's revolutionary. And it completely blows Mayavad out of the water. That's why you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita in several instances, most dramatically in Benares, when he converted Prakashananda Saraswati and his thousands of disciples to be his followers in chanting and dancing, and chanting Hare Krishna. And he did it in a wonderful way by anyway, it's a whole story, how he took a very humble position, and everything, and then he explained the real import of Vedanta. And they were all amazed, and they, agreed. Because you find in the Bhagavatam and the CC and many other, where there's various Mayavadis or impersonalists. Some are not Mayavadis. Like Shukadev was not a Mayavadi. The Kumaras were not Mayavadis. But they preferred Brahman. They weren't fully realized, But Shukadev, when he heard the nectarian verses, especially, and came back and heard the Bhagavatam, he became the greatest Vaishnava. And the Kumaras also, they had their own sampradaya, but they were kind of Brahmavadis. And when they weren't allowed into Vaikuntha, they became extremely angry and cursed the guards there, Jai and Vijay. So then they lamented these devotees, what have we done? And Narayan, Vishnu had to assure them, no, it was all my plan, that go down, I could get to fight, Hiranyakashipu. So, but they were transformed by smelling the fragrance of the Tulsi Manjaris placed on the lotus feet, mixed with the fragrance of Krishna's lotus feet, when Narayan came to the gate. And they underwent a complete transformation and became who we know them to be, the Kumaras. But you don't find, the devotees giving up the bhakti and then going back to Mayavad. It doesn't happen. Because once you taste, Krishna's lotus feet and the service to Krishna, you regret your years as Mayavad. Sarvabhauma is a very great example. So, but in our present state, we have to be careful, because if we're not, we're not so advanced, and we can be spirited away if we hear too much of this Mayavad, it may be alluring to us or whatever. So Lord Chaitanya says, don't hear; it will destroy it. Mayavadi Bhasha Sunisara Hoinash. So we get our understanding of Mayavad from Prabhupada's books. If you're interested, the history of publishing is also a history of Prabhupada's enthusiasms and for printing. And at first he wasn't going to, but the CC was not part of his program. I don't know if you know that. He was focused on Bhagavatam and putting out the Bhagavatam. He was working on it. But he was traveling with Govinda Dasi and her husband Gorsundar. They were taking care of Prabhupada after his stroke. He was rehabilitating. And they had gotten a hold of an English translation of just the verses for the CC. I saw it. It was three or two or three thin volumes. The whole thing without the purports and everything. And they were reading it, and Prabhupada improved. And they liked it so much that they asked Prabhupada, "But it would be great if we could get your translation. Please do this." And Prabhupada said, that this was his spiritual master's favorite books. Prabhupada took shelter of it when he was coming along, on that ship, very difficult trip. So he agreed, and he mentioned, not by name, but if you look at the dedication, this is dedicated to my friends who requested that I translate the CC. But he didn't begin with the Adi Leela. He had done some of that in India, but he began publishing, because he never knew how much time he really had, with the 7th chapter of the Adi Leela. Why? Because that's where it describes in detail the confrontation and conversion of the Mayavadis when Lord Chaitanya met them in Benares. And this extensive purports, mostly based on Bhaktisiddhanta's commentary, that Prabhupada translated. So that to protect us, against any deviation into Mayavad. So that's a very prominent part of this purport. The Mayavadi's great mistake. thinking that we were once Brahman and we became covered. Now we become a worm and stool. No, if you're God, you can't be covered. That doesn't work like that. And Brahman cannot be cut off like that. They think there's the little pieces are cut off. So there's all kinds of fallacies, and they come out in those books if you're interested in really studying that. But King Prachanabharishat is being saved, from his absorption in another one of the big distractions, which is the idea that I can improve my material condition. Today, people are not worshiping their the gods. They're trying to do it through technology and hitting it big on the stock market or something like that. But it's just as foolish, one way or the other. At least if you worship the gods, you're within the Vedic paradigm, and you're more likely, as this Prachanabharishat, to give that up and become a devotee. If you're a complete materialist demon and you're just worshiping Moloch, or is it Mammon, it's very hard to become interested in these things. So, but when we see and we experience the great value of this, how it just makes all of the material endeavors insignificant, and this is who we were, and we're trying to attract those who have been beaten around the head, by the material energy, and recognize the futility of trying to find a place of lasting happiness and security in this world. It's so crazy, it's so unpredictable and dangerous. And then if you come in touch with this philosophy and some nice devotees and representatives of Prabhupada, and your interest is piqued because of maybe some past agata sukriti, for whatever reason, this is the greatest fortune you've had in your whole stay in the material world. And to open one of Srila Prabhupada's books, doesn't matter, big book, small book, those little books can be very potent, And if you're ready for it, and you're receptive, then it can just turn a big light on it and say, this makes perfect sense. Now I know why I'm suffering so much in this world. Let me pursue it, and that's really our mission. And I started again reading the CC. I went through it once, now I'm going back, and there's so much there in the beginning about who Lord Chaitanya is. The subject of the book is setting it up with the Mangalacharan, it's called, these verses at the beginning. And it's defined there, the internal and external reasons of Lord Chaitanya's, the confidential reasons and the external reasons. And the external reasons is to save us, to spread Krishna consciousness. Anarpita chadim chadat karunayavati nakalo. For a long time, and this had not been given. And since Lord Krishna came, the highest levels of devotional service, instruction. But Lord Chaitanya came again for that, to give it for us in a way that we could take it and practical, the Sankirtan movement. But he had his mission, he had his reasons of his own. Krishna had his reasons of his own to come, and those were to relish three aspects of Radharani's love for him. First, the glory of her love, what she's experiencing. His own qualities that she's experiencing, that he's attracted to his own beauty in the mirror, but he can't enjoy it the way Radharani does through the lens of her love, her inimitable love. And then to experience the pleasure she's experiencing from loving him in this way and experiencing his love for her. So for all of those reasons, he covers his dark complexion. He comes in golden form, and he steals, if you were, this one verse like that, steals her emotions and her mentality. So that's Lord Chaitanya, combination of Radha and Krishna, and taking on the mood of Radharani, the complexion of Srimati Radharani. So all of that is there in that first Adi Leela. And as I mentioned, that 7th chapter is so significant. So to be aware of who we are, and to live in that understanding, to act in that understanding as pure spirit and servants of the Lord, and to experience what Krishna says. He's as the super soul, Tesham Satati Yuktanam. For those who are serving me with sincerity, with love and affection, I give the intelligence by which they can come to me. I give the intelligence so that you can say what's necessary to be said in order for someone to take a book. I give the intelligence to do everything we do. Everything we do requires intelligence. So that's coming from Krishna. He's very happy to give that, And out of compassion, I destroy the darkness of ignorance with the shining lamp of knowledge. So that relationship, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for some friend that we can have for eternity, some wonderful master, other relationships, and that's with Krishna. So we should work to reawaken that. We all have that natural relationship, and at the same time, give others as much of a chance as possible. Okay, I forgot that it was a little late. Any questions, comments? Are you there, Tapas? Not today. Dandavat Pranam. There he is. The voice in the sky.
We have Madhusudhan Prabhu with us, and in YouTube we have 16 users, but we don't have any comments in YouTube till now.
Okay. Thank you all for listening out there.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Is that Madhus?
Yes.
Haribol Madhus.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Lovely class. Prabhu, when we hear that Lord Chaitanya's
you can turn it down.
External reason and internal reason, it sounds like the external reason is less important, inferior, when we think external and internal.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only described external, internal, it's described the primary reason and stuff like that. So it is mentioned like that. But I think that I can speak for myself. As for me, that external reason is most important. Without that external reason, then we wouldn't be here. So on the absolute plane, there's no difference. But just the emphasis. I mean, just the time that he spent. He spent, 6 years or so traveling and preaching. He went to South India, that was a big thing, and spreading Krishna consciousness. And, training up and instructing Sanatana and Rupa and the others, So he certainly put that effort. But he spent, 18 years in Puri, just relishing these highest levels of bhakti. So it's not, we are, in the absolute sense, I don't feel that diminishes the importance of preaching. But I think that what I always take from that is that we also need to have those two elements. We need to be ambitious about advancing in devotional service, serious about our sadhana and all these different things, and at the same time be also serious about spreading Krishna consciousness. We need those two tracks as well. And in fact, they feed on each other. They're not mutually exclusive. Everyone knows if you make an effort to preach, give Krishna consciousness to others, means, taking the knowledge that you have and, giving it out, then you also feel blissful. That's the best way to stay fixed up, really, and get the mercy of the Lord. So I would say that, it's true that if you read the Adi Leela, you'll find that that internal reason is mentioned as his... sometimes even the real reason, but Prabhupada says. Yeah. But it's in the absolute sense, it's no less important. And where would we be if he hadn't, taken the trouble to preach as well? So it's all a different aspect.
It seems like the preaching and book distribution is actually an entranceway to those higher internal feelings, like the Lord Chaitanya said.
Yes.
In that sense, it may be relative sense inferior or external or internal, but it's like you say, it's on the absolute platform, and it's a necessity. It's like saying that the kindergarten, second grade, third grade, these are inferior levels of education, but they're absolutely necessary.
Foundational. And I think we can take our cue from Srila Prabhupada, that he would certainly very much emphasize the need to distribute books and preach in so many other ways, and Harinam, everything. But he also emphasized you have to have that foundation, that sadhana, the morning program, and that's really internal. That's where we're chanting our rounds and studying and seeing the deities, And it's not directly preaching, although people may come, like that. But it's so he saw the need, for both sides, just as Bhaktisiddhanta, Saraswati did. That be serious about your sadhana. Don't make any offenses. Advance in that way, and then you'll have the strength to preach. You'll be potent to preach, and that preaching will also give you more enthusiasm for your sadhana. So they work together.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Hari Bol. All right, we better end. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you for your attention.
There you go.